22 perennial vegetables that keep growing forever. I'm Adam Grove, and I want to share something that's going to completely transform the way you think about growing your own food at home. Most gardeners spend their entire lives stuck in an exhausting cycle, and nobody ever tells them there's a better way. They plant seeds every single spring, spend hundreds of dollars at local garden centers, prepare their beds the same way year after year, and then their plants die when autumn comes. It's like running on a hamster wheel that never stops. But here's what I discovered after years of gardening. There's a secret that most people don't know exists. The garden secret nobody talks about. Imagine if your vegetables worked exactly like apple trees or peach trees. You plant them once, maybe twice if you're unlucky, and then they produce food for you year after year after year, some for 5 years straight, some for 10, 15, or even longer. A handful of them will actually outlive your house payment. These are called perennial vegetables, and they're about to become your garden's greatest investment and your biggest money saver. Before we jump into the full list of these incredible plants, I need you to do something for me. If you're serious about cutting your gardening expenses in half, or even more, if you want a garden that practically grows itself without all that endless work, please smash that subscribe button right now. Ring that notification bell too. Why? Because here at Backyard Crops, we release fresh, budget-friendly gardening tips, tricks, and secrets every single week. You don't want to miss what's coming next. And here's the best part, it's completely free. And when you subscribe, you help our community grow and reach more people who are tired of wasting money on their gardens. Now, I'm going to give you something special today, a complete guide to 22 perennial vegetables that will revolutionize your entire approach to food growing. But first, I want you to understand why this matters so much. Why nobody tells you about these plants. The reason most gardeners don't know about perennial vegetables is simple. It's not that they're hard to find or difficult to grow, it's that the entire garden industry has built itself around getting you to buy seeds and seedlings every single year. Think about it. Garden centers, seed companies, and nurseries all make money when you keep coming back every spring. They have no financial incentive to tell you about plants that produce for a decade or more without replanting. The vegetables I'm about to share with you aren't exotic imports from some mysterious mountain range. You've probably eaten most of them at your local grocery store. You've just never been told that you could plant them once on your own land and let them do their thing year after year after year. It's information that's been hidden in plain sight. These plants behave like trees. You make an initial investment of time and money up front. You plant them correctly, then you wait through the first year or two, and suddenly they start paying you back in fresh food. Some produce for so long that your kids will inherit them. Let's dive into the complete list. Vegetable 1. Asparagus, the 20-year producer. Asparagus is the heavyweight champion of the perennial vegetable world. When you plant asparagus crowns in your garden, you're making a decision that will affect your family for 2 or 3 decades. Planted correctly, and you'll harvest spears every single spring for 20 to 25 years. That's generations of fresh asparagus from a single planting. Here's the trade-off you need to understand. Asparagus makes you wait. During year 1, you don't harvest anything. Year 2, you barely pick a few spears. But by year 3, you're collecting beautiful fresh spears week after week throughout the entire spring season. Then this continues for the next 20 years. It's like putting money into a savings account, and instead of getting interest in dollars, you get interest in pounds of delicious vegetables. One asparagus bed can produce hundreds and hundreds of pounds throughout its lifetime. Asparagus loves direct sunshine and soil that drains well. Plant it in the right location, be patient through those first couple years, and you'll be harvesting forever. Vegetable 2. Rhubarb, the frost-proof plant. Rhubarb is fascinating because most people think it's a fruit, but it's actually a vegetable. And here's why that matters. Rhubarb is absolutely impossible to kill. It survives brutal, freezing winters, comes back every spring with these gorgeous red stalks, and produces for at least 15 to 20 years. Some rhubarb plants produce for even longer than that. Plant one rhubarb crown
and you've basically set yourself up for decades of fresh rhubarb for pies, jams, sauces, and more. The best part about rhubarb? It actually needs cold winters to perform its best. If you live in a climate where other perennials struggle because it gets too cold, rhubarb is actually your best friend. This plant thrives where other vegetables would fail. Just remember one important rule. The leaves contain toxins and should never be eaten. Only the stalks are good for food. The stalks, though, are absolutely pure gold. Vegetable 3, artichokes, the fancy garden beauty. Artichokes look like they belong in a fantasy movie or an exotic botanical garden. These stunning plants are perennial in warmer climates, specifically in zones 7 and higher. In these regions, artichokes come back every single year, producing those beautiful purple flower buds that we harvest and eat. Each plant can create dozens of artichokes per season, and the plant keeps producing like this for 5 to 7 years or sometimes longer. If you live in a colder climate where artichokes normally don't survive the winter, don't worry. You can still grow them as perennials using some winter protection strategies. You might need to cover them or move them, but it's possible. Artichokes are impressive, delicious, and they transform your entire garden aesthetically. Your neighbors will be asking you what those gorgeous plants are. Vegetable 4, sorrel, the never-quit salad green. Sorrel is one of those vegetables that most people have genuinely never heard of. But once you grow it and taste it, you'll wonder why every single garden doesn't have it. This leafy green has a tangy, lemony flavor that works perfectly in fresh salads and soups. It adds brightness and zing to any meal. Sorrel is virtually impossible to destroy. It grows well in partial shade when other plants would struggle. It tolerates poor soil that other vegetables would refuse to grow in. It comes back every single year for about 6 years or more. You plant it once, and you have fresh salad greens available from early spring all the way through late fall. And this repeats year after year. It's honestly like having a salad bar that never closes and never takes a day off. Once you have sorrel established, you'll question how you ever gardened without it. Vegetable 5, Egyptian walking onions, the mobile food source. This is where vegetable gardening gets weird and wonderful at the same time. Egyptian walking onions are perennial onions that literally move around your garden. They grow little bulbs at the very top of their stalks. Those bulbs become heavy, the stalk bends over under the weight, and the bulbs plant themselves in a completely new spot. It's like your onions are deliberately migrating across your garden bed. You can harvest both the underground bulbs and the bulbs that form on top of the stalks. They keep multiplying and reproducing forever. Plant them once and you'll never need to buy onions from the store again. Plus, they're an absolute conversation starter because they're just so bizarre and amazing. People won't believe your eyes when you show them onions that literally walk through your garden. Vegetable 6, globe artichokes, the reliable producer. Globe artichokes deserve their own mention because they're so consistently reliable as a food source. While regular artichokes are great, globe artichokes are truly special because they develop deep root systems that make them incredibly stable and productive. Once they're established in your garden, they become drought tolerant, which means you spend less time watering and less energy overall. In Mediterranean climates or warm zones, these plants become massive and productive features of the entire garden. A single mature plant can produce up to 30 artichokes in one season. These plants will keep producing for a decade or more if you give them basic care. That's 30 artichokes a year for 10 years. Do the math.
Vegetable 7, watercress. Watercress is a perennial aquatic plant that flourishes in moist, boggy environments where most other vegetables struggle to survive. Packed with vitamins and minerals, this leafy green delivers a distinctive peppery bite that elevates any salad or soup. Once established, watercress grows prolifically and regenerates quickly after harvesting. In temperate climates, it maintains its perennial status, while in colder regions, it often self-seeds, effectively functioning as a perennial even when technically treated as an annual. Vegetable 8. Sea kale. Sea kale is an elegant perennial vegetable that produces tender, asparagus-like shoots each spring. With attractive blue-green foliage and delicate white flowers, it serves double duty as both a nutritious food source and an ornamental garden plant. This hardy vegetable is remarkably drought-tolerant, naturally pest-resistant, and will reliably produce for 8 to 10 years. Simply plant it in a sunny location with well-draining soil, and it requires minimal intervention beyond that initial setup. Vegetable 9. Lovage. Lovage is celery's more robust and productive perennial cousin, offering a strong celery-like flavor that intensifies with growth. This substantial herb develops into a large, vigorous plant that yields harvestable leaves, stems, and seeds for culinary use. A single lovage plant typically provides enough yield for an entire household, and the plant requires virtually no maintenance once established. Some lovage specimens have thrived for generations, potentially outlasting the gardeners who originally planted them. Vegetable 10. Good King Henry. Good King Henry is a heritage perennial vegetable experiencing renewed interest among gardeners seeking traditional crops. This versatile plant provides 3 distinct harvests from one specimen: spinach-like leaves, asparagus-like shoots, and edible flower buds. Unlike many vegetables, Good King Henry tolerates partial shade exceptionally well, making it ideal for less sunny garden spaces. This European heirloom has been cultivated for centuries and deserves far greater recognition among modern gardeners. Vegetable 11. Turkish rocket. Turkish rocket, also known as Turkish arugula, is the perennial solution for arugula enthusiasts tired of constant replanting. This true perennial delivers the signature peppery arugula flavor year-round in mild climates, with the plant dying back but reliably returning each spring in colder zones. While the leaves develop a slightly more bitter profile than annual arugula, they're perfectly suited for salads and sautés. The plant is remarkably resilient and essentially maintenance-free. Vegetable 12. Caucasian spinach. Caucasian spinach is a vigorous climbing perennial that produces spinach-like leaves on sprawling vines, perfect for trellis training. Unlike traditional spinach that bolts and becomes bitter in hot weather, this variety thrives in heat and continues producing fresh greens throughout spring and fall. The plant dies back seasonally but reliably emerges from established roots each spring. This combination of productivity, heat tolerance, and space efficiency makes it an excellent addition to any perennial vegetable garden.
Vegetable 13. Dobbington's kale, the endless harvester. Most kale is biennial, but Dobbington's kale is truly and completely perennial. This special variety doesn't produce seeds, so all its energy goes into producing leaves instead of reproduction. You can harvest from it almost year-round, and it keeps going for years and years. The leaves are tender, delicious, and packed with nutrients. Plus, you can propagate it from cuttings, so one plant can turn into an entire kale forest if you want to expand. It's virtually pest-free and handles cold weather like a true champion. Vegetable 14. 9-star perennial broccoli, the year-round head producer. Yes, perennial broccoli actually exists, and 9-star is the variety to grow if you want it. This plant produces multiple small broccoli heads instead of one large head, and it keeps producing for about 5 years. The heads are white or cream-colored, and they taste like a delicious cross between broccoli and cauliflower. It's slower to establish than annual broccoli, but once it gets going, you're harvesting broccoli every year without replanting. That's a total game-changer for broccoli lovers. Vegetable 15. Chives, the completely forgotten perennial. Chives are so common that people forget they're perennial, but they absolutely are. Plant chives once and they'll divide and multiply in your garden completely on their own forever. You get fresh onion-flavored greens almost year-round. You also get beautiful purple flowers that are completely edible. Chives are perfect for containers, for garden borders, or as companion plants next to other vegetables. They require zero maintenance and will literally outlive you if you let them. They're one of the easiest perennials to grow. Vegetable 16, garlic chives, the heat-loving option. Similar to regular chives, but with garlic flavor instead of plain onion. Garlic chives produce flat leaves and delicate white flowers, and they're just as perennial and low maintenance as regular chives. The difference is that they're heat tolerant and actually prefer warmer weather than regular chives. You can harvest the leaves, the flowers, and even the flower buds. They're productive, flavorful, and they'll naturalize in your garden, meaning they'll spread and fill in empty spaces on their own without any help from you. Vegetable 17, horseradish, the perennial that won't quit. Horseradish is the perennial that absolutely will not quit no matter what you do. In fact, the bigger problem with horseradish is stopping it from taking over your entire garden. Plant one horseradish root, and you'll have horseradish forever and ever. The roots are what you harvest for that spicy condiment that clears your sinuses and makes you cry. Horseradish is incredibly vigorous, tolerates poor soil, and requires absolutely zero care or maintenance. Just be strategic about where you plant it, because once it's established, it's there for life. Consider it a permanent resident of your garden space. Vegetable 19, Jerusalem artichokes, the underground tubers. Also called sunchokes, these are perennial tubers that taste nutty and slightly sweet. They grow tall like sunflowers because they're actually related to the sunflower family. Underground, they produce edible tubers that you can harvest and eat. Jerusalem artichokes are ridiculously productive. Plant a few tubers and they'll multiply like crazy. They're also beautiful, with bright yellow flowers in late summer. The only warning is that they can be invasive, so plant them where you don't mind them spreading or contain them in a designated bed. Vegetable 19, ramps, the sought-after wild leek. If you're into the foraging culture, you already know that ramps are worth their weight in gold. These perennial wild leeks have a devoted following because of their unique and special flavor. Ramps prefer shade and moist soil, making them perfect for woodland gardens or shaded areas of your property. They grow slowly from seed, but they establish into permanent colonies that produce every spring. Once you have ramps established, you're part of an exclusive club of gardeners who grow one of the most sought-after wild vegetables. People will pay premium prices for fresh ramps at farmers markets. Vegetable 20, tree collards, the perennial brassicas. Tree collards are absolutely mind-blowing. These are perennial brassicas that actually grow into small trees, producing edible leaves year-round in mild climates. They can live for 10 to 20 years, growing up to 12 feet tall. You keep harvesting leaves, and they keep producing more. They don't produce seeds, so you propagate them from cuttings, which means every tree collard is essentially a clone of an ancient plant that's been kept alive through cuttings for potentially hundreds of years. It's like growing a piece of living history that also feeds you forever. Vegetable 21, perennial kale blend, the extended harvest. Beyond Dobbingtons, there are other perennial kale varieties worth mentioning. These special varieties have been bred specifically to keep producing year after year without the normal biennial cycle. Different varieties offer different flavors and leaf textures, but they all share the same remarkable ability to produce continuously. Growing multiple perennial kale varieties means you have options and can harvest different flavors throughout the year. The investment in these plants pays dividends for years. Vegetable 22. Perennial herbs that keep producing. Beyond the specific vegetables listed, there are perennial herbs that function like vegetables in the kitchen. Oregano, thyme, sage, and marjoram all come back year after year. They're hardy, productive, and add incredible flavor to your cooking. These herbs essentially give you two benefits: food production and beautiful garden accents.
The big picture. How this changes everything. Stop spending money at garden centers every single spring. Stop preparing beds and doing the same work repeatedly year after year. Here's what perennial vegetables offer you instead: a permanent food system that actually works for you instead of you working for it. Think about the financial impact. Let's say you spend $50 on seeds and seedlings every spring. Over 20 years, that's $1,000. Now imagine investing $100 up front in perennial vegetables.
That same 20 years of production cost you the original $100. Plus, you spend less time working, less energy preparing beds, and less frustration replanting. This is sustainable agriculture at its most basic level. This is a garden that practically runs itself. This is what food security looks like when you put in the work up front. Your challenge, start now. Here's my personal challenge to you right now. Pick 3 of these 22 perennial vegetables and commit to planting them this season. Just 3 to start. Don't try to do everything at once. Watch what happens over the next 2, 3, or 5 years as these plants establish and start producing food without you having to replant them. That's how you transform your garden from an annual expense into a permanent food source. That's how you join the community of smart gardeners who refuse to waste money on unnecessary work. If this video opened your eyes to a completely new way of gardening, please share it with a friend who's always complaining about gardening costs. Please share this with family members who love gardening but get tired of the constant work. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're building a genuine community here at Backyard Crops. A community of smart gardeners who refuse to waste money on things they don't need to. Drop a comment below telling me which perennial vegetable you're most excited about. Tell me why. Tell me where you live. I genuinely want to read your thoughts and comments. I read every single comment that comes in. Until next time, keep growing smart, keep growing affordably, and remember this: the absolute best gardens are the ones that take care of themselves. I'll see you in the next video. Happy growing.